Ahoy there, ye lost souls and curious wanderers. Ye be sailing now on the seas of mystery, where truth and legend dance upon the tide. The winds whisper secrets, the waves carry echoes of the damned, and the stars above be guiding us through the unknown. But beware, these ain't just any waters, and I ain't just any captain.
With a yo-ho-ho and a pint of rum, beware the seas where the phantoms come from. The depths below to the stars up high. It's seas of mystery, oh give it a try.
I be Captain Jeb, cursed to sail these haunted seas and spectral airwaves till the end of time. I faced the devil's grin, heard the wails of the forsaken, and felt the cold hand of fate drag me beneath the waves. Yet here I be. With a battered map and a belly full of rum, I hunt the myths that refuse to die. Ghost ships, sea beasts, and curses older than time itself.
From the depths below to the stars up high, it's seas of mystery, oh give it a try.
So sharpen your wits, stoke the lantern bright, and steel yourself for what lies ahead. The truth be hiding beneath the waves, and I be bound to seek it till the last bell tolls.
There's monsters, treasures, and whispers of doom, fog-shrouded islands where the ghost lights loom. Captain Jeb's laugh cuts through the fear. Onward, ye scallywags, the truth be near.
Now hoist the anchor, trim the sails, and raise the black. The seas of mystery await.
Beware the seas where the phantoms come from. The depths below to the stars up high. It's seas of mystery, oh give it a try. So hoist the sails and bring your grit. With Captain Jeb there's no quitting it. The seas are wild, the legends untold. Set course for mystery, be brave, be bold. Yo ho ho, let's set sail tonight with Captain Jeb and his ghostly light.
The bloody gull swayed gently on the calm evening sea, the sky ablaze with the fiery hues of sunset. The crew gathered round Captain Jeb on the main deck, their faces aglow with the anticipation of the light of the lanterns swinging above. The captain, ever the storyteller, took a deep swig from his mug, a rich aroma of rum and stew wafting through the salty air. Jeb leaned back in his well-worn chair, his tricorn hat casting a shadow over his weathered face, and gave the crew a sly grin.
So hoist the sails and bring your grit. With Captain Jeb, there's no quitting.
Well, me hearties, gather close, for tonight I'll tell ye a tale of defiance, bravery, and bitter loss, of pirates who dared the gallows shadow and left their mark on history. Let me take ye back to the golden age of piracy, when Nassau was our sanctuary and freedom was our battle cry.
There was a time when the Caribbean waters ran thick with ambition and rebellion. Nassau stood as a beacon for outlaws and dreamers alike, a haven where no crown held sway. It was here that Captain Jeb found himself drawn into alliances with the most infamous rogues of the seas, men and women whose names would echo through history.
Aye, lads, it was a day unlike any other. The British were breathing down our necks, but we weren't ones to kneel before kings or queens. That's when I crossed paths with Calico Jack, Anne Bonny, and Mary Reed, a finer bunch of cutthroats ye'll never find. I was aboard the Marauder's Pride when Calico Jack pulls alongside in the William. I'll never forget Anne Bonny, fire in her eyes, pistol cocked and ready, and Mary Reed, calm as death, loading muskets faster than I've ever seen.
As Jeb and his allies prepared for battle, the British warships loomed on the horizon. 5 of them, their sails white as a ghost's grin, ready to deliver the crown's vengeance. The pirates, outnumbered and outgunned, had little choice but to fight. or face the gallows.
All hands on deck! Fire in the hold! Fire! Derby dog! Wahoo! Wahoo! Wahoo!
Divide and conquer, I told them. We'd split their fleet and make a run for Nassau. And it worked, lads. We led those redcoats on a merry chase through the squall of their lives. But the sea wasn't just a battlefield, it was our ally. When the storm hit, it was as if the ocean herself had chosen sides.
Through cunning and courage, the pirates escaped into the night. Their ships battered but spirits unbroken, they reached Nassau, a haven where they could drink to their defiance of the crown.
But not all tales of piracy end with cheers and rum. For every victory, there was a noose waiting in the shadows. I still remember the gallows at Port Royal and the faces of those who dared to live free. Calico Jack, Anne, Mary, they fought for what they believed in, and they paid the price.
The story of Nassau and of those who fought for freedom upon the seas is a tale of courage and sacrifice. Though the gallows claimed many, their spirits live on, in the waves, in the wind, and in the hearts of those who still yearn to live free.
So, mates, next time ye hear the wind in the rigging or feel the salt spray on your face, remember the ones who came before us. They may have tried to shackle the sea, but they never shackled the spirit of those who dared to defy. Here's to freedom, lads, and to never bowing to any crown.
Ahoy! Aye!
And so the bloody Gauls sailed on, her crew inspired by tales of old and the promise of adventures yet to come. On the high seas, where legends are born and freedom reigns, the story of the gallows ghosts lives forever.
Me hearties, gather round and settle in, for this be one for the books, or the log, as we sailors say. We be talking ghosts, curses, and all manner of spookery that sails on the coattails of history. Now let me start with the man himself, Blackbeard, Edward Teach, Edward Thatch, or whatever name the man used. He was a devil in flesh, and some say he still is. Let me paint ye a picture. Imagine it. You're a poor merchant captain, sailing the calm waters near the Carolinas, when suddenly the horizon darkens, the air turns thick, and there, like something crawling out of hell itself, comes the Queen Anne's revenge. Blackbeard stands on the deck, a towering shadow of terror, fuses smoldering in his beard, eyes burning like hot coals. The man was a master of theatrics. He understood fear better than a preacher understands sin. But here's where the tale gets downright eerie. It's said after the British Navy finally cornered him at Oracoke Inlet, they cut off his head and hung it from the bowsprit of their ship, as if to say, see, even legends can die. And yet, Blackbeard didn't stay quiet. There are accounts, credible accounts, of sailors seeing his headless body swimming around the ship, looking for its noggin. They say his spirit still haunts those waters, and on foggy nights ye can hear the sound of his laughter carrying over the waves. Now I don't know about you lot, but if I saw a headless pirate wading toward me, I'd be tossing myself aboard faster than ye can say shiver me timbers. But old Blackbeard ain't the only ghost terror we've got on tonight's docket. No, no. Let me tell ye about the cursed ship known as El Kalouche. Ever heard of her? She hails from the cold waters off the coast of Chile. They say she's a ghost ship, crewed by the spirits of drowned sailors and captained by a mysterious figure who makes Blackbeard look like a choir boy. She appears out of nowhere, lit up brighter than a festival, and vanishes just as quick. If you're unlucky enough to cross paths with her, ye best pray she doesn't take a fancy to your ship or your soul. Now some say El Kalouche is just a legend made up by lonely fishermen, but I've talked to a few salty dogs who'd argue otherwise. One old mate swore he saw her on a moonless night, her lantern swinging wildly, and the sound of laughing and singing echoing across the waves. He said the laughter weren't human. No, it was something darker, something colder. And when he tried to steer away, his compass went mad, spinning like a drunkard in a tavern brawl. That, my friends, is the stuff of nightmares. Then there's the legend of the Flying Dutchman. I know, you've all heard the name. But do ye know the story behind it? The Dutchman ain't just a ghost ship. It's a curse. A punishment for a captain who defied heaven and swore to sail around the Cape of Good Hope, no matter what. Now he's doomed to sail forever, never making port, never finding peace. Sailors say if ye see the Dutchman, it's a bad omen, a sign your ship's destined for a watery grave. I've always wondered, what drives a man to defy the heavens themselves? Was it arrogance? Desperation? Or was it something darker? Maybe the captain of the Dutchman was already cursed before he set sail. Maybe the sea has a way of claiming its own. Now before we drop anchor on this segment, let me give ye a thought to chew on. Why is it do ye think that so many ghost stories come from the sea? Is it the mystery, the vastness, the sheer unknowable depth of it all? Or is it something else? Something older, something primal? The sea, my friends, is alive. It breathes, it hungers, and it remembers. And perhaps that's why so many souls find themselves unable to leave it, even in death. So there ye have it, Blackbeard's ghost, El Kalouche, and the Flying Dutchman. Legends, eh? But also warnings. The sea is a fickle mistress, and she doesn't give up her dead easily. Stick around, mates, because we're just getting started. After the break, we'll be diving into some listener letters, stories from ye fine folks about your own encounters with the spectral and the strange. Don't go anywhere, or I'll send Blackbeard after ye.
Need a spyglass that won't leave you squinting? Try Captain Jeb's spectacular spyglasses, now with anti-fog enchantments. Guaranteed to spot ghost ships, mermaids, and even the nearest tavern. Available at all reputable ports or wherever shady merchants gather.
All right, mates, let's dive deeper into the life and lore of Edward Teach, Blackbeard, the devil himself. Now, ye know him as the most feared pirate of the Golden Age, but let me tell ye, the man wasn't just muscle and menace. He was strategy and smoke, both literally and figuratively. Aye, Blackbeard's image is burned into history, But let's not forget the crew he sailed with and the rogues he called allies, or rivals. Ever hear of Benjamin Hornigold? He was the man who brought Blackbeard up in the trade, showing him the ropes of piracy. Hornigold, a privateer turned outright pirate, was the one who likely put the first blade in Teach's hand. Then there was Charles Vane, a cruel, conniving wretch if there ever was one. Vane and Blackbeard respected each other's talents but kept their distance, mostly because Vane's reckless antics made even Teach shake his head. And let's not forget Stede Bonnet, the so-called gentleman pirate. Teach took him under his wing for a time, though it said old Blackbeard was more interested in stealing Bonnet's ship than teaching him the pirate trade. But Blackbeard wasn't all business and betrayal. No, the man knew how to spin a good yarn over a barrel of rum. I recall one night in Nassau, back when we were friendly competitors. Teach had just claimed the Queen Anne's revenge, and I'd landed a modest haul of silver goblets from a Spanish brig. We met at a raucous tavern, the Salty Siren it was called. The air was thick with smoke, and the place stank of spilled grog and sweat. Teach was in rare form that night, regaling us with tales of his latest escapade. "Jeb," he said, leaning across the table with those wild eyes of his, "did I ever tell ye about the time I tricked a Royal Navy sloop into thinking I was a merchant ship?" He laughed, a sound like thunder. I dressed the crew in rags, tossed a couple of crates overboard, and waved like a friendly trader. As soon as they got close, I raised the black and let loose the cannons. He roared with laughter, and we all joined in, though I couldn't help but admire the man's cunning. That was Blackbeard for ye, a master of illusion, on the sea and in life. But even then there was something about him, a shadow maybe, like he knew his time was short, and perhaps he did. Now about his ghost. The waters round Oracoke Inlet are said to be cursed. Sailors whisper that on foggy nights ye can see a spectral ship, black sails torn but still full, gliding silently through the mist. And if ye listen closely, ye might hear Blackbeard's voice, guttural and mournful, crying out, "Where's my head?" There's a tale I once heard from a fisherman in Beaufort. He swore he saw Blackbeard's ghost standing at the bow of a phantom ship, one hand clutching his throat as if trying to hold his head on. The poor man said he felt a cold breeze, even though it was a summer night, and the smell of gunpowder lingered long after the ship vanished. Aye, the sea remembers its dead, especially those who meet their end in violence. But ghosts ain't the only mysteries of the sea, are they? There's something about the endless horizon, the depths no man can fathom, that stirs the imagination. Take the Mary Celeste, for instance. A brigantine found adrift in the Atlantic. Her crew vanished without a trace. No signs of struggle, no clues to their fate. She's not a pirate tale, true, but her story chills the bones all the same. And what of the Bermuda Triangle, where ships vanish as if swallowed whole? Some say it's a natural phenomenon, others blame alien abductions or sea monsters. Me? I say the sea itself has a taste for mystery, and for men. Ghosts, curses, and legends, they're all part of the lore that keeps us looking over our shoulders on the open sea. Why are pirate ghosts so spooky, ye ask? Maybe it's because pirates lived on the edge of life and death, their lives full of bloodshed and betrayal. Or maybe it's because the sea doesn't let go of its own. Whatever the reason, one thing's for sure: their stories will outlast the tides. And with that, mates, it's time to take a short break. When we return, we'll we'll be hearing from some of ye scurvy listeners who sent in tales of your own haunting encounters. Stick around or risk meeting Blackbeard in the afterlife.
Are you tired of squinting at treasure maps in the dock? Need something to keep your shipmates from stealing your share of the loot? Try Captain Jeb's Phantom Lanterns, guaranteed to light up even the foggiest night and scare off any ghostly interlopers. Available now at all shady ports or by carrier doll.
The morning broke with cannon smoke, the British fleet was near. 5 great ships with guns and grit, but we showed no bloody fear. With the Marauder sails held tight, and the William at his side, we danced the waves and spun our fate with freedom as our guide. How? Raise the black and trim the sail, we'll send the red coat straight to hell. With Anne and Mary, Jack and me, we rule the raging sea. Oh ho, a pirate's life for me. Through storms and fire we never tire, we'll die but we'll live free. Calico Jack with a devil's grin cried, let's give him hell today. And fight true and Mary flew like the hawk upon her prey. We split the fleet, we turned the tide, each cannon's roar a hymn. And when they thought they had us caught, we vanished in the wind. How? So raise the black and trim the sail, we'll send the red coat straight to hell. With Anne and Mary, Jack and me, we rule the raging sea. Oh ho, a pirate's life for me. Through storms and fire we never tire, we'll die but we'll live free. The storm it came with wind and rain, the sea she chose her side. We danced between the lightning strikes and let the waves decide. The British ships they faltered, lads, their sails were torn and frayed. And with a cheer we disappeared, Nassau shores we made. Oh! So raise the black and trim the sail, we'll send the red coat straight to hell. With Anne and Mary, Jack and me, we rule the raging sea. Oh ho, a pirate's life for me. Through storms and fire we never tire, we'll die but we'll live free. Now here's to Jack, to Anne, to Mary, to Jeb and all our kin. To the ones who fight for freedom's light, to the rogues who'll never give in. So raise a mug, you scurvy lot, and sing this song with glee. For the alliance of the rogues will live in pirate history. Oh! Black and trim the sail, we'll send the red coat straight to hell. With Anne and Mary, Jack and me, we rule the raging sea. Oh ho, a pirate's life for me. Through storms and fire we never tire, we'll die but we'll live free. Oh ho, a pirate's life for me. Oh ho, we'll die but we'll live free.
And we're back. All right, me hearties, it's time to crack open the treasure chest of listener letters. I always enjoy hearing from ye landlubbers and sea dogs alike. Let's see who's first in line tonight, eh? Ah, Olivia from Savannah. Let's hear what she has to say. Dear Captain Jeb, I recently visited Oracoke Island, and I swear I saw something strange near Teach's Hole. Teach's Hole, eh? That's where the infamous Blackbeard himself met his grisly end in 1718, his body riddled with musket balls and saber cuts. You can almost feel the history in the air, can't ye? Now let's get back to Olivia's tale. It was foggy and I heard a voice calling out, "Heed my warning." I couldn't see anyone, but the voice was clear as day. Do you think it could have been Blackbeard's ghost? Olivia, I'll tell ye this. Teach's Hole is no ordinary patch of water. The locals say Blackbeard's spirit still roams the inlet, searching for his head, which was severed and hung from Lieutenant Maynard's bow as a trophy. That voice he heard, it could have been him, or perhaps some other poor soul trapped in those haunted waters. Did ye smell sulfur on the air? Feel a cold shiver run down your spine? That's how ye know something supernatural's afoot. If ye ever go back, be sure to leave an offering of rum or tobacco to appease the restless spirits. Or better yet, don't go back at all. Some places are best left to the dead. Next up, Wesley from Charleston. Let's see what this fine lad's been up to. Captain Jeb, I'm a fisherman, and I was out in the Atlantic last week when I spotted a ship with glowing green lights. It disappeared before I could get a good look. Was it a ghost ship? Ah, Wesley, a ghost ship, ye say. Now that's a tale fit, for sea's a mystery. Green lights, ye say? That's the mark of something unnatural, all right. Some call it St. Elmo's fire, a strange glow caused by electricity in the air. But out on the open sea, it's more likely to be the Flying Dutchman. The Dutchman is said to be cursed to sail the oceans for eternity. Its crew long dead, but bound to their ship by a terrible fate. Sailors claim to see its greenish glow just before storms or disasters. But here's the kicker. Those who set eyes on the Dutchman are said to be doomed. Did ye notice the weather changing, Wesley? A sudden squall? Unexplained currents? If I were you, lad, I'd say a prayer to the sea gods and keep your nets far from those waters. Cursed ships don't take kindly to curious fishermen. And next time, make sure you've got a jug of rum to bribe the spirits if you get too close. Ah, a letter from New Orleans. A city as full of ghosts and legends as the sea itself. Let's see what Tessa's got to say. Dear Captain Jeb, my family has a tradition of putting a ship and a bottle on the mantle to ward off spirits. My grandpa swears he once saw the tiny ship rocking back and forth all on its own during a storm. Is it true that ship in a bottle magic can trap ghosts? Well now, Tessa, that's a fine bit of superstition your family's got there. And there's truth to it, too. Ship in a bottle magic comes from an old sailor's belief that spirits can be trapped inside objects, especially ones tied to the sea. It's like giving the restless dead a little home of their own, so they don't come causing mischief in ours. If your grandpa saw that tiny ship rocking, I'd wager there's a spirit still tied to it. Perhaps an ancestor, or maybe something darker. Storms tend to stir up more than just wind and waves, lass. If that ship starts moving again, ye might want to consult a voodoo priestess down in the French Quarter. And whatever ye do, don't open that bottle. Spirits hate being disturbed, and the last thing ye want is to set one free. But who knows? Maybe it's just your grandpa pulling your leg. Either way, keep that bottle safe. It's more than a decoration, it's a story. And every story's got a bit of magic in it. Last but not least, we've got Liam from Nova Scotia. Now there's a place full of fog and mystery. Let's see what Liam's got for us. Captain Jeb, I work on a lobster boat. and the crew tells stories about a cursed patch of water where the pots always come up empty. I didn't believe 'em until I saw a pot filled with bones instead of lobsters. Is there such a thing as a cursed fishing ground? Liam, cursed fishing grounds are as old as the sea itself. The story goes that when sailors die at sea, their spirits can linger in the waters where they perished, protecting it from those who'd take its bounty. A pot filled with bones, ye say? That's no ordinary bad luck. That's a warning. Someone or something doesn't want ye fishing there. I've heard tales of cursed waters up near Nova Scotia, where the fog rolls in thick as stew and strange lights dance on the waves. Some say it's the spirits of fishermen lost in storms, still guarding their catch. Others whisper of sea witches who curse those waters to keep greedy hands away. Either way, lad, I'd mark that spot on your map and steer clear. And if ye ever pull up another pot of bones, toss it back quick and offer a prayer. The sea can be a jealous mistress, and she doesn't take kindly to trespassers. Just one more reason to respect the ocean, Liam. She's got secrets we'll never fully understand.
Do restless spirits haunt your home? Feel the chill of the unknown creep up your spine? Protect your ship or your house with Captain Jeb's warding charms. Handcrafted with sea glass and blessed by the finest sea witch this side of the Atlantic, these charms are guaranteed to keep ghosts, curses, and bad luck at bay. Available now at your local harbor or by carrier pigeon. Ahoy, landlubbers tired of soggy biscuits and watered-down grog? Upgrade your pantry with Kraken's Feast meal kits. From salted cod to rum-spiced cake, we've got everything ye need to dine like a true pirate. Order now and get a free bottle of Kraken's hot sauce. It's hotter than a cannonball fired at close range. Don't just eat, feast.
Joining us tonight is none other than Dr. Margaret Wainwright, historian, scholar, and bona fide expert on pirate folklore. Welcome aboard, Doctor.
Thank you, Captain Jeb. It's an honor to step aboard your ship. Well, virtually speaking.
Aye, close enough, lass. Now let's not waste any time. We've got a shipload of curious minds tuned in tonight. Let's start with a legend that refuses to die. Blackbeard's ghost. What's your take on it?
Ah, Blackbeard's ghost. One of the most enduring maritime legends. The story really begins with his gruesome execution in 1718. He was hunted down by Lieutenant Robert Maynard, and after a fierce battle, Blackbeard, whose real name was Edward Teach, was killed. Accounts say his head was severed and hung from the bowsprit of Maynard's ship as a warning to other pirates. Now, that kind of violent, dramatic death almost guarantees a ghost story.
And they say he's been searching for his head ever since, hey?
Exactly. The legend suggests his headless spirit roams the waters near Orcoke Island, where he met his end. Sailors and locals alike claim to have seen a headless figure wandering the shores or ghostly light bobbing over the waves. Some even report hearing his voice, deep, gravely, and still issuing commands as if he's rallying his crew from beyond the grave.
That'd be a sight, wouldn't it? A headless captain trying to steer a ghost ship. But tell me, Doc, do you think there's any truth to it? Or is it just a tale to scare cabin boys into behaving?
Well, Captain, that depends on how you define truth. There's no hard evidence to confirm these sightings, But stories like these often carry a kernel of historical or emotional truth. Blackbeard was a larger-than-life figure, ruthless, charismatic, and terrifying. His death was so brutal and public that it left a mark on collective memory. People see what they expect to see, especially in places steeped in history and superstition.
Aye, superstition runs as deep as the ocean itself. Now, speaking of deep, let's talk treasure. Every pirate worth their salt dreams of finding buried gold. But what about cursed treasures, Doc? Are those just fanciful tales, or is there something to them?
Cursed treasures are fascinating. The idea of treasure carrying a curse often comes from stories about greed, betrayal, and tragedy. One famous example is the Treasure of Lima, an enormous cache of gold and jewels supposedly stolen by Captain William Thompson in 1820. Legend has it that he buried the loot on Coco's Island, but his crew was captured and executed before anyone could retrieve it. Over the years, treasure hunters have claimed strange accidents and disappearances while searching for it.
Accidents, ye say? You think the curse is real, or is it just bad luck?
Perhaps it's a little of both. There's something psychological about curses. If you believe you're cursed, every misstep or mishap feels like proof. But there's also a practical danger. Greedy men often turn on each other, and digging for treasure in remote, treacherous places is inherently risky.
Aye, greed's a more dangerous curse than any witch could conjure. But let's take it back a step. Do ye think pirates themselves believed in these curses?
Absolutely. Pirates were deeply superstitious. They believed in omens, signs, and rituals to ward off bad luck. Many carried charms or talismans, and there were strict codes of conduct on ships to avoid inviting bad fortune. For example, whistling on a ship was considered bad luck because it was thought to summon storms.
And ne'er bring a woman aboard. That's another one, eh?
Oh yes, though that superstition is likely tied to the disruptive potential of introducing romance or rivalry among the crew. Interestingly, some pirates did have women aboard, Anne Bonny and Mary Read being the most famous examples.
Two lasses who could fight as fiercely as any man. Now that's a tale worth telling. But let me steer us back to curses. There's a story about Captain Kidd's treasure being cursed. Ye know it?
Ah, yes! Captain William Kidd is said to have buried treasure before his capture. The legend goes that he killed one of his own men and left the body to guard the loot, cursing it so no one else could claim it. Over the years, many have searched for Kidd's treasure, but strange mishaps and even deaths have fueled the idea that it's cursed. Some say the spirit of the murdered sailor protects it.
A ghostly guardian, eh? Now that's the kind of detail that'll make a man think twice before digging up buried gold. Have ye ever gone treasure hunting yourself, Doc?
I've done some archaeological digs, but nothing as romantic as hunting for pirate gold. My treasure is in the stories and artifacts we uncover, each one a window into the lives of these fascinating people.
Aye, stories are treasures of their own. Every tale's a map leading us to a greater understanding. Now, before we let ye go, Doc, what's the one pirate legend ye wish more people knew about?
That would be the story of Sam Bellamy, also known as the Prince of Pirates. He was known for his charisma and fairness, treating his crew as equals and sparing the lives of captives. His ship, the White Galley, sank off Cape Cod in 1717, taking Bellamy and most of his crew with it. The wreck was discovered in 1984, and it's the only authenticated pirate shipwreck ever found. The artifacts recovered give us an incredible glimpse into the real lives of pirates, not just the legends.
A true prince of the sea, eh? And his treasure was knowledge left behind for ye landlubbers to marvel at. Thank ye, Doc, for sharing your wealth of wisdom with us tonight. Any parting words for our crew?
Just this. The sea holds countless mysteries, and every legend has a bit of truth buried with it. Keep searching, keep wondering, and always respect the power of the ocean.
Wise words from a wise woman. Thank ye kindly, Dr. Wainwright. May the wind be always at your back. All right, mates, it's your turn to join the crew and share your own ghostly tales of the deep. Let's see if any of ye have had encounters with Blackbeard's ghost or other hauntings on the high seas. First up, we've got Billy from Charleston. What's your tale, Billy?
Captain Jeb, I've got a story about the wreck of the Queen Anne's Revenge. I once visited the site on a dive tour. My guide swore that people see strange shadows moving on the ocean floor. He said divers sometimes hear voices down there. Could it be Blackbeard himself still guarding his treasure?
Billy, sounds like ye got close to the old pirate's final resting place. Blackbeard's ghost is said to haunt the waters near Oracle and Beaufort Inlet, where he met his end. Dr. Wainwright, any truth to these stories of underwater hauntings?
Billy, stories like these are common near shipwrecks. The Queen Anne's Revenge is one of the most famous wrecks in the world, and its dark history makes it ripe for paranormal legends. Many divers report eerie feelings or sounds that can't be explained. It could be a psychological response to being in such a historic and tragic site, or perhaps Blackbeard really is keeping an eye on his sunken legacy.
Either way, Billy, I'd keep me wits about me if I were swimming there. Thanks for the call. Let's see who's next. Kat from Bristol. Welcome aboard, Kat.
Hi, Captain Jeb. My family visited the Outer Banks last year, and while we were walking along the beach at night, we saw what looked like a lantern bobbing on the waves. It disappeared after a few minutes, but it gave us all the creeps. Could that have been Blackbeard?
A lantern on the waves, ye say? That's a classic sign of a ghostly sailor. Or maybe Blackbeard himself, searching for his lost head. They say he swore to haunt those waters until he found it. What do you think, Doc?
Kat, your story fits with legends of Blackbeard's ghost. After his execution, his head was hung from the bow of a ship, and many believe his spirit lingers, searching for what was taken from him. Those lantern lights are often called ghost lights or will-o'-the-wisps, and they've been reported in coastal areas for centuries. It could be Blackbeard or perhaps another restless soul lost at sea.
Either way, Kat, ye witnessed something not everyone gets to see. Thanks for sharing. Next up, we've got Dan from Galveston. You're on with Captain Jeb.
Captain, I've got a bone chiller for you. Years ago, I was out night fishing near the coast of North Carolina, not far from Oracle. The fog rolled in fast, and I swear I heard the sound of cannon fire, even though there wasn't another boat in sight. Then I saw the outline of a ship, an old one, like something out of the 1700s, sailing through the mist. What do you make of that?
Sounds like ye had a run-in with the spectral fleet. Ghost ships are seen all over, but Oracoke is prime territory for Blackbeard's phantom crew. Dr. Wainwright, what say ye? Could Dan have seen Blackbeard's infamous sloop, the Adventure?
Dan, what you describe is eerily similar to reports of ghost ships tied to Blackbeard. The adventure was his last command before his death, and many say it appears in the fog to remind us of his legendary battles. Cannon fire could be an echo of the past, or a trick of the atmosphere amplifying distant sounds. Either way, you witnessed something extraordinary.
Extraordinary indeed, Dan. I hope ye kept your courage about ye. All right, mates. Next caller's Maya from San Diego. Welcome aboard.
Hi, Captain Jeb. I've always been fascinated by pirate legends. And I read once that Blackbeard used to braid fuses into his beard to make himself look like a demon in battle. Could that be why so many people think his ghost is still so powerful and terrifying?
Ah, Maya, you've hit the nail on the head. Blackbeard was a master of psychological warfare. He wanted his enemies to fear him before a single sword was drawn. What do ye think, Doc? Could his fiery reputation have fueled his ghostly legacy?
Absolutely, Maya. Blackbeard cultivated an image of terror. Those burning fuses made him look otherworldly, and his reputation spread like wildfire. When someone's persona becomes larger than life, it often transitions into legend after death. It's no wonder so many stories of his ghost persist to this day.
Well said, Doc. Maya, thanks for calling. Let's take one more. We've got Rob from Key West. Speak to us, Rob.
Captain Jeb, I was visiting an old lighthouse in Beaufort, and the guide said people sometimes see a shadowy figure pacing at the top late at night. Some think it's Blackbeard himself, waiting to spot enemy ships. Could that be true?
Ah, the lighthouses of Beaufort. Plenty of hauntings reported there. Blackbeard knew those waters well, so it's not far-fetched to think his spirit might keep a lookout. Doc, what say ye?
Rob, lighthouses are often tied to ghostly tales, as they were places of isolation and sometimes tragedy. If the figure paces like a watchman, it could be tied to Blackbeard or even another restless soul from the area's pirate history. Shadows and spirits both linger where history runs deep.
Another haunting for the books, Rob. Thanks for the call, and thanks to all ye scallywags for sharing your tales tonight. Time for a break, mates. Let's bring in the Bloody Gold Boys with their haunting tune, Ghost of the Gallows.
On the docks of Boston town, where the gallows cast its shade, they lined the pirates one by one, and the bloody price was paid. Tom stood tall with a fearless grin, though the noose was round his neck. He said, "Ye can take my life, my lads, but my spirit you'll regret. You'll never shackle the seas, never shackle the seas. For every soul you lay to rest, 10 more rise from the breeze. Ye'll never shackle the seas, no crown can cage the free." The crowd was jeering, the rope was tight, and the trapdoor slammed away. But the wind carried Tom's last words, and they haunt the seas today. They left him swinging in the breeze as a warning to the crew. But now his ghost walks every shore where the salt wind whispers true. You'll never shackle the seas, never shackle the seas. For every soul you lay to rest, 10 more rise from the breeze. Ye'll never shackle the seas, no crown can cage the free. Now sailors claim on moonless nights where the gallows used to stand, A shadow sways with phantom ropes, a ghost of the hangman's hand. And if ye listen close enough, as the tide begins to swell, you'll hear Tom's voice on the howling wind with a tale he'll always tell. You'll never shackle the seas, never shackle the seas. The heart of a pirate beats too wild to bow on bended knees. You'll never shackle the seas, never shackle the seas. For every soul you lay to rest, 10 more rise from the breeze. You'll never shackle the seas, no crown can cage the free. So raise your mugs to the ghost of the gallows and all the mates who've gone. They sail with us in every storm, their spirits still live on. For every rope and every noose, their fight will always be a battle cry, a rebel song. You'll never shackle the seas.
We'll be back after a word from our sponsor, the Rusty Cutlass Pub, serving the finest grog this side of the 7 seas.
Ahoy there, me hearties. After a long day of plundering and pillaging, there's no better place to rest your weary bones than the Rusty Cutlass Pub. Located right in the heart of Port Emerald, we've got the finest grog this side of the 7 seas. From our signature Blackbeard brew to the Kraken's Kiss rum punch, every sip is sure to shiver your timbers.
Best fish stew I've had since sailing the Spanish Main.
And don't forget the treasure trove of meat pies. They're worth their weight in gold.
Hungry for more? Try our world-famous shipwreck special, an overflowing platter of roasted meat, salted fish, and fresh baked bread. Perfect for sharing with the crew. And if ye need entertainment, the Rusty Cutlass has it all. Live sea shanties, arm wrestling competitions, and the occasional ghost story from old Salty Pete.
Beware the phantom of Dead Man's Cove. Har, har, har.
So gather your crew and sail on down to the Rusty Cutlass Pub, where the rum flows free, the food is hearty, and every night feels like a pirate's feast. The Rusty Cutlass Pub, open 7 days a week. Just follow the sound of laughter and the glow of lanterns, or visit us online at rustycutlasspub.com. First round's on us if ye mention Captain Jeb.
All right, me hearties, let's drop anchor in the harbor of history. When ye hear the name Blackbeard, ye probably picture the devil himself. Wild eyes, a fearsome beard lit with smoldering fuses, and a thirst for chaos. But Blackbeard, born Edward Teach or Thatch, depending on who's telling the tale, wasn't just a brute with a sword. He was a man who knew the art of war and intimidation. Now, Blackbeard roamed the seas during the golden age of piracy, which spanned the late 1600s to the early 1700s. This was an era shaped by treaties, betrayals, and empires vying for control of the New World. The British, the Spanish, the French, and the Dutch, all of them were playing a game of maritime chess. But amidst all that law and order, there were men and women who rejected their crowns and chose the life of freedom, or lawlessness, depending on your perspective. Blackbeard captained the mighty Queen Anne's Revenge, a ship that could rival a small navy. With 40 guns bristling on her decks, he blockaded ports, most famously Charleston in 1718, striking terror into the hearts of the colonists. But you know what's fascinating? Blackbeard wasn't known for senseless killing. His greatest weapon wasn't his cutlass, it was fear. He made himself larger than life, with his fiery beard and reputation as a man who'd deal with the devil himself. Most enemies surrendered without a fight, too scared to face him. But Blackbeard wasn't alone in his defiance of the crown. The golden age of piracy had its havens, places like Nassau in the Bahamas, Tortuga off the coast of Hispaniola, and Port Royal in Jamaica, though that one fell after the earthquake of 1692. Nassau, though, was something special. It became a pirate republic, a place where men like Blackbeard, Charles Vane, and Benjamin Hornigold gathered to carve out their own freedom. Nassau had no law, no king, and a community built on shared plunder. But it couldn't last. Britain eventually cracked down, sending Governor Woodes Rogers to Nassau with a pardon for pirates willing to leave their lives of crime. Some took it, many didn't. And let's not forget the infamous female pirates, Anne Bonny and Mary Read, who sailed under the notorious Calico Jack Rackham. Anne and Mary were ferocious, fighting like demons in battle while the men around them quaked in their boots. Legend says they fought to the bitter end when their ship was captured, shouting curses at their cowardly crew who hid below deck. But back to Blackbeard. His end comes in 1718 in the waters off of Oracoke, North Carolina. Lieutenant Robert Maynard of the Royal Navy lured Blackbeard into a trap. They boarded his ship, and after a brutal fight, Blackbeard was struck down. Some say he took over 20 wounds before he fell, and even then, his body was thrown overboard. But not before they severed his head and hung it from the bow of Maynard's ship as a warning to others. Now here's where the ghost stories begin. Oracoke Island is said to be haunted by Blackbeard's restless spirit. They call it Teach's Light. It's a strange, flickering glow seen on stormy nights, as if the ghost of Blackbeard is still watching over his watery grave. And it's not just Oracoke. The Carolina coast is littered with tales of shadowy figures and ghostly ships said to be crewed by the damned. Blackbeard's name lives on, not just in history, but in the whispers of those who swear they felt his presence. Now, as we look back on these stories, remember, pirates like Blackbeard weren't just outlaws. They were men and women caught in a world of war, greed, and oppression, who chose a life of freedom over servitude. That's why their tales endure. They're larger than life, just like the man who lit his beard on fire to frighten his enemies. So next time you're near the Carolinas, take a moment to listen to the waves. Who knows? Ye might just hear the ghost of Blackbeard himself, laughing at the fools who thought they could end his reign. Gather round, mates. Tonight, I've got a tale to tell. One that ain't full of gold or glory, but of something far darker. A tale of men I knew, pirates like me and you, who met their fate not on the seas, but at the end of a hangman's noose. They called it justice. I call it the ghost of the gallows.
It was the year 1721, and the tides of the golden age of piracy were changing. What was once a life of freedom on the open seas had become a desperate game of survival. The kings and queens of Europe sick of pirates making fools of them, decided it was time to take back their oceans. They declared war on us, a war fought with ropes and iron cages.
I remember the day like it was yesterday. I was docked near Port Royal, keeping a low profile after a bit of, let's call it, redistribution of Spanish treasure. Word spread like wildfire that Black Sam Bellamy's crew, what was left of them after the Whydah went down, were set to hang in Boston. A bloody spectacle, they said, to show the world what happens to men who dared defy the crown.
They called it the Great Pirate Purge. Dozens of pirates, some guilty of nothing more than sailing under the wrong flag, were marched to the gallows. Among them was a man named Tom, a fine sailor and an even finer friend to Jeb.
Tom and I had run together a time or two back in the days when the seas were ours to claim. He had a laugh that could drown out a storm and a knack for turning the dullest rum into a grand feast. But there he was, hands bound, standing tall as they dragged him toward the noose. His crime? Being loyal to the wrong captain and refusing to rat on his mates. A better man I never knew.
They say Tom stood proud, even with a rope around his neck. He didn't beg, he didn't curse. Instead, he looked out over the crowd and spoke words that still echo through history.
Ye can take my life, he said, but ye'll never shackle the seas. For every man ye hang, 10 more will rise with fire in their hearts and freedom in their souls. And then it was done. The trapdoor fell, and so did Tom. They left him there, swinging in the breeze, as a warning to the rest of us. But what they didn't know was that they'd done more than take his life. They'd made him a legend.
They say the gallows at Boston Harbor are haunted now. On moonless nights, sailors swear they've seen shadowy figures swinging from invisible ropes, their faces frozen in defiance. And in the dead of night, a voice can be heard whispering through the mist.
You'll never shackle the seas. Never shackle the seas. Tom's spirit, and those of all the others who met their end on the gallows, ain't gone. They're out there watching over us, reminding us of what it means to be free. The ghost of the gallows ain't just a story, it's a warning. The crown may have won that day, but they'll never win the soul of the sea. So next time ye see a noose swaying in the breeze, give a nod toward Tom and his crew. They may be gone, but their fight lives on in every pirate's heart. Now raise your mugs, mates, to freedom, to the sea, and to the ghosts who keep us honest. And for the love of Neptune, don't go getting yourselves caught. I'd hate to have to tell your tale on this here show. Well, mates, that's all the time we've got for tonight's journey into the world of Blackbeard, his ghostly hauntings, and the golden age of piracy. Before we pull up anchor and set sail for next week, I've got a couple of messages from ye fine listeners who keep this show afloat. Our first letter to end the night comes from Sarah in Savannah, Georgia. She writes, Dear Captain Jeb, I grew up hearing tales of Blackbeard's ghost from my grandfather, who swore he saw Teach's light near Oracoke when he was just a boy. He'd tell us that it wasn't just a glow in the water, but that he heard laughter, loud and eerie, carrying over the waves. Do ye think Blackbeard's ghost is still enjoying a pint of rum somewhere, or is he cursed to haunt the seas forever? Well, Sarah, that's a fine question. If Blackbeard's spirit is still kicking about, I'd wager he's got a mug in one hand and a hearty laugh echoing in the afterlife. But cursed? I think old Teach would say haunting the seas is a far better fate than serving under a king. Thanks for sharing your grandfather's tale. It's stories like those that make these legends live on. This next one comes from Liam up in Boston. Liam writes, Captain Jeb loved the show. Why, thank you, Liam. I'm partly fond of it myself. I've always wondered, do you think pirates like Blackbeard were truly villains, or did they see themselves as rebels fighting against unfair rules? Keep up the great work. Ah, Liam, thank you for your compliment. I plan to keep going for eternity because, well, I'm cursed to sail the spectral seas and haunt these ghostly airwaves forever. But that's the age-old question, ain't it? Some will say pirates were nothing but thieves with a ship. But me, I think Blackbeard and his crew were more like freedom fighters with a touch of flair. They weren't just rebels. They were storytellers, making sure their lives wouldn't be forgotten. Heroes or villains? That depends on which side of the plank you're standing on, eh? Thanks for your thoughtful question, mate. Now, Dr. Wainwright, before we haul anchor, any final thoughts about tonight's tales? Got any ghost stories of your own from the Carolina coast?
Well, Captain, I've got a theory. These stories about Blackbeard's ghost, whether it's Teach's light or the phantom laughter, are tied to the cultural memory of piracy. It's not just about ghosts, it's about the enduring mystery and freedom pirates represent. Though I'll admit, one stormy night on Oracoke, I did hear something odd, like cannon fire. But maybe that was just my imagination. Perhaps with a bit too much rum on my part.
The rum's a likely culprit, Doc. But who's to say? Blackbeard might have been checking on ye, making sure ye knew who's still king of the seas. Now, next week, me hearties, we'll be diving deep into the world of lost pirate gold, truth or tall tales. We'll separate fact from fiction, dig into the legends of buried treasure, and maybe even help ye find your own fortune. Just don't blame me if it's guarded by ghosts or curses. Mark your calendars, ye won't want to miss it. Remember, mates, the seas are full of ghosts, mysteries, and untold adventures. But it's the stories we share that keep the spirit of the sea alive. Whether it's Blackbeard's ghost, a flickering light on the horizon, or the thrill of a treasure map, it's all about keeping that spark of wonder alive in your hearts. So here's me parting words for the night. Be bold like the pirates of old. Laugh like Blackbeard with a beard full of fire. And live your lives with a bit of mischief and a whole lot of adventure. Fair winds and following seas, me hearty.